Round 1 of Elestriad Season 3 is officially over, where 32 casters threw down in 16 incredible clashes to ultimately make our top Sweet 16. Let's break down every single one of the clashes if you missed them, and then look forward to what we're gonna see here in round 2. As always, you can check the standings at Elestriad.com, and be sure to show some love at shop.Elestrals.com, where you can pick up some Daybreak, Shattered Star Scorpio, and much more as we head towards our Moonrise pre-orders launching on November 15th. And of course, the playlist in the description below will allow you to get caught up on every single one of these clashes, because again, some of them were absolutely nuts and you don't want to miss out. Up first was Shady Penguin versus Jayak, Fire versus Frost. Shady took this one with a dominant 2-0 victory utilizing Fire and Vesuvatuga Eruption strategy. He was able to get out a Boltuga, searching for his eruption in the underworld, and took down Jayak. Very powerful display, but Jayak did bring some really cool stuff. Rhinosect, Cryoscorch, ultimately tried to hold it down, but Shady was too powerful for him and took the W, moving to our Sweet 16. Up next was Distant Coder rocking Wind and TCG Dome rocking Thunder. Distant Coder took this one 2-1 in a best of 3 clash, and his Wind Toolbox Nexus strategy was very effective, utilizing cards like Toxiswarm, Verituka, Nemisail, and Exaltair. And Exaltair was ultimately the biggest threat that he could maximize potential on, being able to burn spirits from TCG Dome with combination from the divine support of Aeolus. We saw TCG Dome try to take advantage of Arcolith and race to the top, but ultimately he was not able to get to the top of Mount Olympus before Coder was able to burn his spirit deck to oblivion. Coder moves on to round 2. Matt O'Shea representing Earth, taking on his favorite element, Water, with MBT throwing down, and MBT took this one 2-0 as well in a dominant performance, utilizing Galaxy and Mustation with their incredible stat swapping effects, and Eddie to change positions, while Boombat hit the field to add some incredible removal. Matt O'Shea tried to use the typical Earth Nexus strategy with Equal Links and Viscerus, but he was not able to keep up the pace with Galaxy doing serious work, Earthquake putting in the work, and ultimately MBT able to deal the final blow. MBT is in your Sweet 16. There was a lot of speculation on how the Lunar Casters would do this season. Words brought the king himself, Draking, while Full Frontage tried to use a Wind Toolbox burn deck with Toxiswarm and Toxion. Ultimately, Wirtz won the second clash by activating a Gorgon's Gaze against a Boombat to pop the Draking and stop it in its tracks. Wirtz moves on to round 2, representing Artemis and Lunar. PK sparks Dad Hotness, bringing the flames against the Law YGO with Thunder, and ultimately PK was not able to bring the heat against the Law YGO and his powerful Thunder deck. Focusing around Arcolith, he takes a powerful 2-0 victory there. Toxion race to the top, doing a lot of work. PK Sparks had a very cool deck with Exalt Flare and Kinleo, Lavalith, and Scavicule, but ultimately Arcolith proved to be way too powerful, dealing insane amounts of damage with its incredible effect on cast, and Law YGO takes a decided 2-0 victory. 1S plays throwing down with Zeus and Thunder against Caleb.ex and his Lunar deck, and ultimately, Caleb won this one 2-0. We saw 1S plays utilize Arcolith and Sonicore, which was really awesome, but Caleb's classic Draking strategy was way too powerful. He was able to go aggro in both clashes and ultimately took control of a handful of 1S plays Elestrals, leaving them with no defenses and ultimately no spirits left. Caleb.exe goes to the Sweet 16. One of the most anticipated clashes of round 1, Swolax bringing Earth, taking on Peeps YGO, bringing the Wind element and Aeolus, and ultimately in a crazy best of 3 clash, Peeps YGO takes the W behind a Wind Toolbox strategy, focusing around Terrasail, which ultimately never hit the field, but really awesome stuff. Swolax tried to bring things like Viscerus, Spectrus, and your typical Earth Nexus with Equal Links, but ultimately Sorlet came through on Peep's side, taking out Spectrus, and Swole had no spirits left to keep on keeping on. Peeps YGO in a huge upset moves to round 2. A few newcomers to the Elestriad this season. Technique taking on Luke Von Karma in a clash of Fire versus Water, and ultimately Luke Von Karma takes this one 2-1 behind the power of Kuribis and rocking a hard place, putting his opponent in very difficult decisions, deciding which Elestral or which rune he's going to take down. But Technique brought something really crazy with Blazerus and Trifernal, ultimately trying to turbo it out with Exalt Flare, but ultimately an Ascension from Luke Von Karma on his Eddie into Kuribis, taking out a Lavalith and then attacking for game. Sealed victory for Luke Von Karma and sent Technique packing on his way home. Aspir is back with a vengeance, using the Water Pantheon and Poseidon, taking on Druby, representing Apollo and Solar, and ultimately Aspir took this one with a powerful 2-0, utilizing Kuribus and Draking together in the water elemental strategy, while Druby tried to use a Solar Nexus deck with Lustragon and did put in some work, but ultimately Aspir won the second game by getting Druby down very low to just 4 spirits, and Druby had no Elestrals or runes to climb back into this one, so Aspir decidedly moves on to round 2. A newcomer to the Elestriad, but a well-established clasher, Sunseed Jess shows up with the Earth Pantheon and Demeter, throwing down against Universe X and the Fire Pantheon, and Jess threw down and took this one 2-0. She utilized an incredible Earth Nexus beatdown deck with Equal Links and Viscerus and was able to get that combo off and continue to put on so much pressure. Universe was bringing a burn strategy with Vesuvatuga and Eruption and was able to get the Vesuvatuga out multiple times, but didn't have enough resources to keep on the constant pressure from Sunseed Jess. She just put in the work and ultimately moves on to round 2. Perhaps the biggest fan of Solar in Elestrals is Trishula, and he's taken down Magnitude, representing Lunar and Artemis in a clash of day versus night, and ultimately the sun shines bright today while the moon is forced to go away. Trishula takes this one 2-0 behind the power of Solar Nexus and Lustragon, and I gotta give a shout out to Galaxy, the incredible ethereal search from Exaltus, providing immense amounts of power, while Magnitude tried to utilize a Draking and Kuribus deck and was just not able to keep pace against Trishula's onslaught of powerful Elestrals. His field kept getting cleared, Steve wasn't able to keep it down, and ultimately Trishula takes this one and moves to the top 16. Golden Nova bringing water, taking on Stellar Kristoff, representing Zeus and Thunder, and ultimately Golden Nova took this one 2-0 behind Chronodile and Kuribus, using the power of Poseidon to generate immense advantage on the field, stack those spirits up, and be able to take out Kristoff, getting Chronodile out, dealing massive amounts of damage, and Kristoff could not keep pace with Arcolith and race to the top. Our next clash featured the Frost Element and Iron Boffin, taking on Super Insane and the Lunar Element, and despite being down in resources and cards, Super Insane and Lunar put on a clinic with a powerful Draking and Kuribus deck as well, while Iron Boffin tried to use a handful of powerful Elestrals like Cryovern, Waylands, Rhinosect, and Iwoolly, but the second game was ultimately finished off with Eddie coming in to swap Iwoolly to defense and dealing massive amounts of damage. Super Insane is in your Sweet 16. She's back again with the Gentle Breeze. Kray is here in round 1 of the Elestriad, taking on the Bitter Cold Teklo Foundry, representing Frost, and Kray decidedly with a 2-1 victory. Do not sleep on Kray. She put on a clinic last season, and she's back with a win toolbox deck, utilizing Boombat for extra removal, where Teklo tried to use a 5 guys type strategy with a Rhinosect in their side deck, but ultimately Boombat put in the work, Exaltair put in the work, and then Kray was able to attack for game. Ultimately, she's going to move on to the Sweet 16. Now taking a look at our final 2 clashes, Nova Aokami taking on Mario Gaming World in a clash of Frost versus Solar, and Mario representing Solar ultimately taking this one 2-0 with the classic Solar Nexus strategy, Lustragon and Exaltus providing amazing Nexus power, dealing incredible amounts of damage and providing a lot of extra resources, while Nova tried to utilize a Cryo Scorch focused deck, but Mario was able to put the pressure on with Lustragon, deal the blows to the Elestrals, remove them from the field, and then attack for victory. Mario 2-0 moves on. And last but certainly not least, your champion from last season, Bean Soldier, picking Earth and Demeter, throwing down against Powder, the best booster machine, representing Solar. Bean Soldier taking this one 2-0 with the powerful and infamous Earth Nexus beatdown deck that he has piloted to many titles so far. Powder ultimately trying to utilize Solar Nexus with Lustragon and Exaltus, but Bean Soldier kept on the pressure, leaving Powder with no resources and few spirits left. Ultimately, Bean Soldier takes this one and moves on as a favorite in the Sweet 16. Now, when we started this season, we broke our casters down into all 8 different pantheons so they would represent the different elements in the game. And now that we're going to the next round, we might see some of these pantheons face off against each other, but let's see what the representation is. All 8 elements had 4 casters each. How many are left from each of those 8 elements? Demeter and the Earth element have 2 casters sneaking through to the next round, where Fire and Hephaestus only have one representative. Water proves to be the strongest behind Poseidon, with all 4 of their casters moving to the next round. And many thought Thunder might be the best element, but only one caster made it through. Surprisingly, Wind and Aeolus continue to blow his way as 3 casters advance to the next round. And with no representation in our Sweet 16, Kione and the Frost element are devastated, while Apollo and Solar move forward with 2 casters representing them, and ultimately Lunar and Artemis move forward with 3 casters representing them, proving that with a limited card pool, Lunar can still put in the work. One thing I do think that came into play in this first round was that these casters did team up to build strategies. We saw some of the strategies in the Earth Pantheon and the Wind Pantheon and the Lunar Pantheon, all very similar to each other. It's very clear that these casters built with each other to help each other advance to the next round, and their strategies certainly cooked as those elements all put in the work. Friday, November 8th is when your Sweet 16 is kicking off, so stay tuned for all of these amazing clashes as we head to our next round of the Elestriad. Now, if your favorite caster did get knocked out, they get dropped to the losers bracket, which is kind of just a fun bracket where they can play a best of 1 and work their way through that to secure a slot in next season of the Elestriad. But we're going to be highlighting the clashes in Sweet 16 starting on Friday, so don't you miss out. We're going to be taking a day off from uploading tomorrow on this, so that's going to be your chance to get caught up on all the amazing clashes before we dive in. I want to take a moment and say thank you to all of the amazing casters who participated to make round 1 something truly incredible, and I encourage you to check out all of their amazing channels and the playlist for all those clashes in the description below. Don't miss out on Shattered Stars Scorpio, available now, and we've got Moonrise pre-orders coming on the 15th, with Shattered Stars members getting it 1 day early. I'm telling y'all, this is one of our best months of Shattered Stars yet. Full Art Mount Olympus is so clean, I can't wait. Stained Glass Spirits, we got Reverse Stellar Jolted and much more. I'll see y'all guys for the next round of the Elestriad because it's just getting started. This is gonna be super epic.